you're a little bit different of a scenario. So you tell me questions that you have, if you kind of know some questions, I guess, or things you wanted to talk about or get out of this.
So there's a couple things that I had written down just from our talks and so forth. It started with trees. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the reverse engineer, how to get to and establish where I'd like to be, why that is important for me, for what I'm trying to do, and have that as a algorithm to fall back on times where I feel as though I kind of need to redirect as maybe the market changes, or I am trying to reach more golfers than skiers and vice versa when the seasons change, for those kinds of things. So from an adaptability standpoint, it's certainly something that I've looked to the Hot Bush interview week today. That's something that really stuck out to me, that really put it in perspective on, okay, when to really break it down to numbers, from a reverse engineering standpoint, that monetary direction was the default in kind of bringing down my stress level. So I think that dovetails into the next point, which was, how do I manage my stress level, not feeling like I'm overwhelmed, like I need to do all these different tasks every day in order to feel successful and be able to those metrics.
So there's healthy stress and there's unhealthy stress. I think if you're not stressed about anything, you almost become lackadaisical with the things that you know you should do and just decide and not to. I'm not saying you do, but just an explanation. And then there's this stress where it's like, it's paralyzing, where you're so stressed, you don't do anything. You got it? Right. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle there. Like I think I have a healthy amount of stress, but I also, when I get faced with certain things. So for example, the 3-day launch. Yeah. So 3-day launch, like creating the videos and putting it out there was stressful? Or was it stress of like, shit, it didn't go the way I wanted it to go, now what? So the stress of before, yeah, just that is new. Like everyone here has talked about how stressed they are in posting content. The more you do it, like Mateo said, it just becomes numb and you're not stressed. Right. But I think expectation setting, I can take some of the faults on that. Maybe I should preface by saying, hey, this for you versus this for someone who has 100,000 followers is going to look completely different, because you didn't you didn't have a lot of low-hanging fruit on that page to begin with. So I'll take the blame for that one of not setting that standard. But in terms of like stress and, okay, what do we do now? Content creation, consistency in that, and then outbound messaging is what's going to get this ball rolling. And that's why I'm having to do the follower stuff. So you get repetition in the messaging.
So content creation, outbound messaging, and there's a fruit.
And then once we relaunch that follower app. So I think another level of stress that's going to come up is you'll see your $10 come out of your bank account every day. There's nothing I say is going to make it any less stressful. It's just, maybe setting expectations and also saying, hey, what you're feeling is completely normal, because you're seeing dollars spent and you're not seeing immediate return, right? When you spend 10, you'd like to see something come back immediately. You have to wait until you spend a certain amount before we can even say, is it working or not? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That's just the way the ads are until we get your organic up and running. So it's basically, I'm faced with two options, right? It's either we penny pinch, not do any of the ads, not really worry about the money right away, and just spend the next 3 months building your brand and your page. And as they come, they come. Or if I want to get some money in your pocket right away while still building the brand and do the ads, right? And that's kind of the way you got to look of it.
Okay. Ultimately, I have to be able to maintain, sustain that, right? And to be able to allocate time to creating content, to doing those kinds of things at the rate that I'm going right now. That's kind of where I can maintain what needs to be done from a portal standpoint, and these are all these things that I'm having.
Portal, thankfully, obviously will be done once you're through with it. You can review stuff, but yeah, that's why I said in the beginning, more time. Once you're done with the course and you learn the skills, it's not any more time on skill building. It's just getting the stuff done.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, that alone just brings my stress level down. That's not a lot, because I was like, okay, this is a lot. And then I also have to make sure I can sustain it, maintain it, keep cranking on what needs to be done. So that's really helpful. Yeah, that's really, really helpful.
It's very simple, man. You're going to post content every day. You're going to message every day. The ads run itself. So once in a couple weeks, you switch around the app, but your day-to-day comes very simple, very simple.
So navigation, communicating in these messaging and conversations, okay, to get some more clarity on just in terms of, all right, it's very straightforward. Follow the prompt that you have provided. But sometimes, I've been faced with these different situations that like, oh, I don't really know how to move forward in the conversation and I don't want it to go south. So I'm hoping to get on. You can pull up your phone and look at your messages. I don't know if you brought your phone or you sit it with it. Yeah. If you want, we can do that. That's
Okay. So I that's definitely something, I would like to.
if those, because I'm just looking at what you shared, like this is what I need to be focusing on. And
Yeah, and I think it's also training the algorithm. Another think of it of like showing you golfers as ski coaches for content ideas.
from here down are all people that I've reached out to.
Okay. So, can you point to anyone that you've at least had a few back and forth texts with?
How did this guy come about? Did you follow him?
He followed me after we did that deal. Okay, so I would say, hey, Rick, thanks for the follow. Always like to reach out to my supporter, the followers. Where are you from? Pennsylvania. So take note of how short that answer was. If they keep being short with you, you're kind of short back, or you have to trim this thing where I want to ask open-ended questions. Not that you get it here, but just FYI. Okay. So I think this question, which mountains are your favorite in New Hampshire, PA? I'll say makes sense that you're in New Hampshire. Well, makes sense since now I know you're in New Hampshire. Out of curiosity, do you do it for recreation? Do you compete or whatever the right French do you think would be as an opener? So I think you as a skier have a little bit easier of a segue and gives random fitness, especially if someone's coming to you for ski. Okay. So this didn't get too far, though. I would follow up if I double tap this message. So when I double tap this message, it bumps through the top of the inbox without having to send another message. So here, you're now at the top of his inbox and it says, Taylor just sliced your message. Interesting. So if it slipped by him, he's going to go back and think that's it. But I wouldn't follow up with something like this because kind of weird message. You ask them what the mountains are. You say, he's making sure my message is the bio. It's like, why does he care that? Okay. So just double tap. Okay, this scenario. So can you ask that? Like, what are your goals of skiing? Do you feel like, okay, so I'm just out of the touch with skiing, but like, if someone asked me my goals with skiing, when I just went, let's just put a picture of myself skiing, I'm like, another, I just went for a weekend. Right? So unless they have some sort of obvious competition or they're avid skier you think you can just straight up ask, do you ski for recreation or do you compete or, I don't know if compete is the right word. You would know more than they would. I can gather from the content and it's very much so recreation. And in this situation, that's why I went with like, where do you typically go? Because that's really the attraction. It's like, okay, I want to be fit to go to these different places. She travels obviously a really long way to go all the way to Western Canada from the UK. So it's important to her. Okay. Yeah. You may have a tough time with this recreation spheres unless they're like avid recreation sphere. Yeah. Trying to like, that's what I'm having most difficult time with is trying to tap into finding people that really need my services to maximize their time on the hill to not be in pain. So we didn't have that ad run for long, but I think you're on the computer with you, but we get that up if we speak specifically to the skier with the injury, and those are the people that'll follow you because they like that video. Okay. I do find that, incorporating some level of the golf would be very good. Basically, like a package for people to go through. We talked a little bit about the different movement screens and stuff like that to be able to do that. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, so instead of just helping skiers, you help golfers and skiers, and then, yes, you would just start posting the golfing stuff. It's pretty much the same exact thing as the method with skiers. Okay. What I have recently found in my in-person is I'll do an assessment, 6 treatments for half an hour, and then I'll do a reassessment. And then at that point, I'll be able to determine frequency from there. Is that something that I would be able to replicate online? Or else I wouldn't want to really replicate that but it's just, you're still trading your time. But I guess you can do a one-off assessment and then provide an action plan based off that assessment. Okay. And then at that point, I can either go and
tell them, 3 months, 6 months, or 12.
So here's at 3 months. So you come in, the assessment, okay, here's what I found. Here's your action plan for the next 3 months. I need you to commit to this. I'm going to guide you. Here's how this is going to look. We'll reevaluate at where you're at 3 months and then come up with the next game plan from there.
I think that that's my motivation in helping people, is to be able to guide them through a movement screen, give them conclusive evidence that their challenges are here. This is how I can help them move better so that they aren't in pain. And then at that point, they have already put it into their mind that I don't know, that's kind of just how I've been thinking about it. And I could be wrong, but I wanted to get your feedback on that.
We come up with your movement screen name, right?
Yes. Yeah, I have it written down.
So just ask me your question again.
So basically, how do we do this? Marketing the screen to then lead to working with me.
You're not going to market your screen. No one cares about their screen. Just care that you're going to help them solve their problem. Okay. And
It's part of getting them to the call, getting them to
you'll mention that on the call. Like, hey, we do a movement screen, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Like when someone comes in and like, if you saw my content, you had no idea about how I can help you, but I said, hey, I make personal trainers a lot of money. My method is the money-making method, but I didn't give you any insight as to what it is. I just told you I have this method. I do this assessment for you, and I make people a lot of money. You're not going to click and like, okay, well, this doesn't really add any value to me. So you can explain your assessment on the call, but you're marketing on how you solve the issue for your clients or potential clients.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay. You know the difference of what I'm talking about?
So I think I want you to extrapolate a little bit.
So I'm gonna do physical therapy terms, so that's what I know. So if I go and say, hey, we're gonna take a goniometer, if my post is POV, you hire me and I'm measuring your active range of motion, people are gonna see that and say, who cares, right? If I say, hey, POV, you just hired me, do these 3 exercises and you no longer have shoulder pain, a lot more sexy, a lot more clickable, right? So you provide solutions to a problem in your content, aka you sell the vacation. Once you get someone on the call because you hook them in, then you can tell them about, this is how I do it. So your content, people don't care how, they just care if you can.
Okay.
And on the call, people want more info. They say, okay, how can you? Okay, so I try to explain it a few different ways there, but let me know if that still does not make sense.
No, it makes sense. I think putting that into practice is
Where I have a hard time making sure that I keep that on the rails,
What is your, get out of pain, right? Or increase performance is the main thing, right?
getting out of pain and helping people move more efficiently.
Okay, so move more efficiently is like a no man's land term. So I think you have to narrow that.
right. So like, what is the problem that someone says, I don't move efficiently? So given my background between the
Titleist Performance Institutes, through what I help people with in that regard, through my skiing background, what is the best focus for what I have there to report into my online coaching? I'm open to.
I want to say like pain, but then you're going to run into a lot of injuries and people may say, well, I'm getting this surgery, so I can't do anything for 3 months until after the surgery. So when I used to post a lot of pain content, like knee pain, here I exercise for that, I'd get a lot of, yeah, I'd love this, but I have surgery in 2 weeks. Not everyone, but you'd run into that more often. So can someone, I don't know, people with pain still skiing? Probably, yeah, right? They're just going to ski through it, right? So you can do that, do Wayne route, right? So, and then in solving the pain, that increases performance. So you can just say pain in order to optimize performance, but pain is what they're coming to you for. This is more so like you have to know, because I don't know, because I'm not a skier. Like, would someone want to hire you if they're not in pain just to make them better skiers?
And they would appreciate knowing if they are in a position where they have a potential injury that they don't really, that exists. So if they physically can't pass specific things through the SFMA, that is a opportunity for an injury that they could very well.
Problem with that, I think, is that you can't sell to people who aren't problem aware.
Okay.
If they can't ski fast and they're like, why the hell can't I ski fast? And you're marketing to pain, they're not going to tie those two together. So they're not in pain. They may not think anything's wrong. It's just, why am I not skiing fast?
So solving, if I'm hearing correct, this is solving pain so that people can perform.
You're going to go into a more rehab route doing that. You just have to feel comfortable in that.
That is my passion.
Yeah.
But now people.
So that's the way I think I would build an area.
Okay. However, I do want to carry to wellness actions to carry out strength training and to be able to train them online and to give them the content that they need to carry out those training exercise routines. It's kind of the
I think you can you can intertwine those, right? Like strength training in order to get out of pain, instead of like your typical rehab facility, 5-pound dumbbell sort of stuff. That's your modality of getting out of pain. You could do that, and then you go use an upsell. Like, okay, now you're out of pain. Now let's strengthen to make sure this never happens, and like more preventative.
that way it's very scalable in that sense, how I can take somebody who really just wanted to get out of pain but then made mention, hey, if we do these certain things, this is going to be dramatically helping your ability to never get injured again.
Right. And this will become a lot more clear once you like do that stuff, and we get clients, we get repetition. You're hearing what people actually want, what they're saying, who's coming to your page, what they're looking for, what they're struggling with. And then once you get a client, you start forming the program around what they tell you their main goals are. Because we can speculate all we want, but like I said, the market will tell us you should do.
Okay. So in your estimation, mindset of how I'm conducting my online business is succinct.
Anything else?
I just wanted to touch on the name of the protocol.
I think we went over it on our one-to-one meeting, right? And we end up solidifying one.
We did. I'm just trying to find it on my phone.
Yeah, as long as we solidified it, that's why I brought it up. I just wasn't sure if we actually did.
I have it in my windows somewhere, but I will find that. So once I find that, I will take that and put that in. Should I put that into Tickle's count, like the Calendly questions and stuff like that, in terms of like booking the call, the name of the call?
No, you're just gonna call it either discovery call, strategy call, direct call. Keep it. Yeah, that is just kind of what your coin term is, your system on your sales calls.
Okay, that's pretty much everything on my end.
Rock and roll, man.